I think we are good to go.
Yep, take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Sorry if
Yep,
you were gonna.
sorry.
I think I was waiting on you and you were waiting on me. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our session today. My name is Emily Rimland. I'm a librarian at the University Park campus, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Victoria Raish. And we're going to be talking today about how the library fits into Canvas. So as the name implies, we're here for Canvas Day sessions. It's probably an integral part of your teaching, your class, your design work, whatever it may be. And the library has a number of different ways that we can fit into coursework that you may not be aware of or want to learn more about. So our goal today is to just provide an overview of these, I think it's five or six things that could be integrated into the library. We have a handout with a lot more detailed information that we'll link to at the end if you want to follow up or try any of these things yourself. But we're just kind of basically hoping to hit on each of them a little bit and give you a sense of what they are, how they might be used, that sort of thing. But we're definitely happy to answer questions either along the way or at the end. Feel free to use the Q&A to do that. And yeah, we hope that this is informative and you'll be able to use some of these tools in the coming summer or fall. So this is just a quick agenda. I'm counting it, yes, 5 things. We have 5 things to show you today. A quick rundown of what we'll talk about. Something called the Credo modules, library services in Canvas, the library Enroll in Canvas, a repository for Canvas modules that we have available, and something relatively new, which is an ebooks and course materials webpage with information. So that's a quick rundown. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Credo modules, and then I'm going to hand it over to Tori for the next couple of things. But you may be familiar with Credo or not, but these are basically pre-built online tutorials from a company. The vendor's name is Credo, so that's where that comes from. But they are geared towards foundational learning, information literacy concepts for students. So primarily for undergraduates is the target audience. They cover a lot of different topics. I think all in all, there's about 81 of these different modules. So they cover different things. I listed 3 just examples there. The searching mindset is a video they have, a tutorial on how to narrow topics when you're doing searching, creating citations. They have specific ones for I think 3 citation styles, MLA, APA, and Chicago, for example. They cover things more broadly like academic integrity, evaluating websites, recognizing bias, those types of things. So like I said, there's a lot of them. They cover a number of topics, but they're pretty granular. And they come in 3 modes. They have videos, and all of those are accessible, come with transcripts, and are relatively short. I don't think there's one longer than about 4 minutes. They have self-guided tutorials, which are basically knowledge checks along with content around a topic. So they'll have some brief content that's delivered and some self-quizzes, knowledge checks, some sorting or something like that. So that's what a tutorial involves. And then quizzes, pretty self-explanatory. Those have an LTI integration. It could be tied to the gradebook if it's something to be assigned, like a quiz would normally be. I have a link here that goes to all of the modules. Let's see what happens when I click it. I think that might be not sharing my entire screen. Give me 1 second here. This is what it takes you out to. So as I mentioned, there's about 81 of these different modules, and this page, we've kind of grouped them by category, and this is probably the easiest way for you to go in and just look at and see what's available if you are interested in checking these out. A link to this is provided in the handout that we have linked at the end of the class, at the end of this session. So let me go back to my slides. Wait 1 second. And it's probably cut off for you, but I did have down there, if you're interested in using Credo and pulling it into Canvas, whether it's the quizzes or not, we definitely recommend you just reach out to Tori or I about doing that. We'll set up like a Zoom session and just do some consultation about maybe which ones are the best for that class at that point, the best way to pull them into Canvas, and just work through some of those details. Let me just quick check the Q&A. There's a quick question. How are Credo quizzes linked to the gradebook assignments? You add it as an external tool. And I believe that by default, they're all 5-question quizzes. And I think it's 5 points per quiz. So that's how they come as a default. I believe we have some control over that. Hopefully that answers your question, Michael. Okay. Hold on. Okay, now I am going to turn it over to Tori to talk about the next slide.
Thanks, Emily. So this slide discusses a little bit about library services in Canvas. So some of you might be really familiar with this, but we have a library resources tab in Canvas where both library guides and course reserves, if you have any for your class, reside. And so when you open Canvas in the blue navigation menu, there is a library resources button. It is turned on by default. You have the option to hide it, just like any of the other pages or features within that navigation menu. But most people have it turned on just because of the resources that are there for students. And so the library guides that are there is one guide allowed to be associated with your course within the library resources tab. And that guide is automatically associated based on subject level data. If there happens to be a course guide for your class, for those of you unfamiliar with this library jargon, basically a subject guide or a course guide is a curated list of resources, tutorials, and other instructional objects that help students know where to go for information in their subject, know how to evaluate it, or develop their evaluation skills. And so we have several subject guides, but then we also have course guides for courses that require or want to have a more in-depth guide for their specific course. And so it will look at the course level first, and if a guide doesn't exist at the course level, automatically the integration looks at the subject level. And so that is what is integrated into Canvas. We can switch out guides. So if the guide that is associated with your class isn't the guide you want, whether it's incorrect or you just want a different guide, you can just request a specific integration, and this PowerPoint will be available, and the link is there to request a specific Canvas integration. The other thing that resides within that library resources tab is course reserves. Now, obviously, naturally, that only is there if you have a course reserve for your class, but in the case that you do, when students click on the library resources tab, they'll see 2 links. They'll see one for the library guides, and they'll see another one for reserves. If they click the reserves one, if they only have articles on reserve, it will open those articles. If they also have ebooks, it will give them 2 folders, and they can choose to either look at their ebooks or their e-reserves. It provides easy access, and the same resources are also available on the library website, just like library guides are as well. But Canvas is, the one-stop shop for many students. Our colleague often says the website is the front door of the library, but I really think like Canvas is the front door of the student's experience. So us having a presence in Canvas makes it easier for students to be able to start using the library without actually going to a different website. Thanks, Emily. So the librarian role in Canvas is just another role that you can add to a particular course. This was created, the registrar and some people at TLT helped us create this role a few years ago now. And the librarian role in Canvas, I can provide for anyone interested the granular level of permissions that the librarian can and cannot do in Canvas. But the basic difference between a librarian and instructor role is that the librarian does not have the capability to grade or to delete courses, things that are more at the admin level. So this role is really handy for people who are embedded excuse me, librarians who are embedded in their classes. So we have about 16 librarians embedded, which means that they're helping students with their research for a longer period of time, whether the whole semester or a period of time within that semester, which is more helpful than being added as a TA or as an observer or as a teacher where students wouldn't be able to clearly identify who this person is. So it allows for easy identification, and then it really helps whether you're going to have a librarian interact with students on a discussion board or something like that, or you just want to have the librarian more there as a resource for students who might be struggling with their information or their research. It's an easy way to add a librarian to Canvas. I was added to a 100 level class this past year, and it was actually just the presence of having the librarian made students feel more connected to the librarian, more likely to reach out. So just having somebody added to their class, even if they didn't directly reach out to them at that time. You can move ahead, Emily. Okay, so the repository is another resource that the library has within Canvas. We have been building modules in this information literacy repository for a couple of years now, and the modules are built either as the result of some sort of collaboration or conversation. We don't build modules just to build them. They're going to have a use case. So it might be somebody who's a librarian embedded in a class. A great example of this is that we have a librarian embedded in Poli-Sci 594, which is a research capstone class, and they have to do a research consultation. I ate a graham cracker like right before this. Anyways, they have to do a research consultation in that class, and so the librarian, the students all make an appointment with that librarian, with the political science librarian, and before they make an appointment with them, they have to go through a module. So we built a module for that class, but we didn't want it to just live in that class, so we also put it into the information literacy repository in Canvas. So right now there's about 5 modules in there. Everyone who contributes a module understands that it is Creative Commons and that you can adapt the modules to suit your purpose and your needs, whether that's another librarian taking the module for a different course, or an instructional designer or a faculty member taking the module. Or you can just keep it as is if it works for your particular context. So if you're interested in like working with the repository and seeing what's in there, or collaborating on it, we simply as a member of the repository, you know, just like a Canvas space, and then you can import, export, all of those kinds of things. And Rachel Perry is the instructional designer who manages the repository, manages the content and the content creation process for that repository. Yep, go ahead. Go ahead, Emily.
So this is back to me. I was just checking the Q&A. I think there might be some questions in there. So the last item we're going to cover today is just a new website that we've put together called Ebooks and Course Materials. I'll go out there in a second. But this is a new site for students, designers, and instructors. It's got comprehensive information about course reserve, like some of what Tori was talking about earlier, OERs and copyright related to using ebooks and course materials in a course. It also has streaming video resources and information. So let me pull it up here one second. This page is also linked if you've been using the remote teaching page, which I know is being sort of rebranded, I think is Keep Learning page soon. This is linked from that as well. But here's where you can find this information that I just mentioned about ebooks and other course materials. It's structured as an FAQ, and we've broken it into FAQs for students and FAQs for instructors and designers. So if you are looking to provide readings or wondering if there's an ebook available for a class reading or something related to a class, this just gives you instructions for how you can go about finding that, how it includes the forms to get things added as course reserves and things like that. If you're looking for streaming video, that's linked down here as well, and instructions for going about finding that. So that is just a really quick look at that page. Again, it's going to be linked from the handout that we have put together, and we'll bring up here, I think on the next slide, or we can discuss it more in the Q&A, but it will be available as a link if you want to come back to it. So I'm just heading over to the Q&A. There's a question from Carmen. Do we have any control over the order in which library reserves are displayed, or is it always alpha by title? I don't know the answer to that. Tori, do you know? You're nodding.
I don't know the specific answer to that. I think we would have to ask Chris Oliver and Nicole exactly for course reserve appearance, but I can say that within the library, we have revitalized our Canvas expert team essentially. And so we are looking at ways to improve the user interface of the library resources page in Canvas. So if you have, Carmen, if you have a specific request for like how you'd rather have that displayed, I have like, right, the people who are responsible for that are on that Canvas team. So I would be happy to bring that question to the team when we meet.
Yeah, good question. And then there's another question here from Michael. Are you librarians who build modules on information literacy working with the new FYE design group, which is university-wide? These modules could be very helpful as part of the first year seminar course. As far as if we're thinking of the same group, and I'm not positive I am, we are involved with, we definitely have a presence with LEAP. And I know that they're looking at a LEAP-like experience for first year experience for this fall. In which case, yes, we are developing like a custom module for that LEAP and for the FYE in the fall. I'm not sure if this is Michael, if this is a different group you're referring to. If you want to chat us or hit us up or whatever, we can like sort of double check on that. But oh, what is LEAP? LEAP is the first year experience program that students, I guess it's University Park specific, but it's for students who start second summer session and start with 2 classes and kind of go through their first semester together as a cohort. It's very similar to the past experience at University Commonwealth campuses. So it's got a very intentional first year experience design to it. And they're looking at something similar for fall. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out if you're talking about like the same group. And as far as if we are talking about the same group, we do have a presence on both of those design groups. And yes, Olivia, Learning Edge Academic Program is what LEAP stands for. Thank you. Yeah. But it is, I believe it is only at University Park, but it's pretty similar to the past experience at Commonwealth campuses. Yes, there are a lot of first year seminar experiences, indeed. So yes.
Yeah, I do know at the campus, for the campuses, I know that we have presence in that group because a librarian, Annie Jansen, is from Brandywine, is on the campus FYS representation. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, thank you, that too. So there's lots of groups working on this, and we're aware of some of those, but if there's other groups, we can check and see. Let's see. Cecilia asks, will you be uploading more streaming video resources? I use Swank and Canopy. It would be nice to have more videos available if we teach remotely. I don't know that they're looking at adding more like databases at this point. They're maybe adding more titles. If you're looking for specific streaming video, I would say to contact the librarian that's the liaison to that course you're working with. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. So, you know, if you're interested in a specific title, reach out to a librarian that works with that class and, you know, see if that's a title that they are able to purchase and add. But I'm not aware of like new streaming video databases that we're adding at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to put a link to answer that question as well to like our how-to for finding video in the library. Because Canopy and Swank aren't the only databases. We have other databases already that host video that you would be able to. Amanda Maple, who is a media specialist librarian, she put together a how-to guide to find various streaming video in multidisciplinary databases or subject-specific databases, or things like Canopy or Swank. So that might help you search for more streaming video databases. But if you also find, like if we only have a DVD copy or we can't get a digital copy of some sort of movie or film, whatever you want to show, we can also, by contacting your subject specialist, we can also see if it's something that we could digitize potentially based on copyright and fair use. So that's another option. Yeah, I can put the link.
I just opened up the course materials page. I mentioned that talks about it. It also talks about streaming audio. I didn't mention that specifically, but that's also covered in this page if you have questions about that. I see Cecilia responded. She was thinking more like on a title basis, but good. Marcus, as a member of the faculty at Abington, if I want to embed a librarian in my course, would it need to be an Abington librarian, or could I end up with a University Park librarian? Who assigns the librarian?
I can take that. So yeah, it depends on your course and what the availability is of Abington librarians as well as University Park librarians. We definitely have librarians with expertise at all of the campuses. And so, for example, there is a librarian from Harrisburg who is embedded in Rural Campus Political Science courses. So if it's an Abington course and it's residential, we would typically try to start with the librarian at Abington who has subject expertise and availability to work in your course. And obviously that is a collaborative process. You can initiate that conversation if you're interested in it. But occasionally it might make sense if it's an online course or if it's a course in the digital learning cooperative at the campuses or something like that, to have a librarian outside of Abington become embedded as well. So it depends on, your course, how it's delivered, availability, interest, time, all of those things factor into that conversation. But if you have a course where you think an embedded librarian would be helpful, you can reach out either to your librarians at Abington directly, or you can reach out to me and see how we might be able to get a librarian added to your course. Yeah, the only other thing I would say with that is to make sure not to add a librarian to Canvas without at least like asking them or letting them know like, hey, I'd like to add you to my course, just because that has happened to librarians in the past, and then they start getting Canvas emails, or maybe they'll get like a student question or something like that, and they're just unsure of why they're in the course. They weren't notified they were going to be added to the course. So it's just a kind of like a heads up, even if they're just being added as a resource, to say like, hey, is it okay if I add you to this course in Canvas? This is how I think it might be helpful. Like, you want to chat about it, that kind of conversation.
Yeah, that is all our Q&As and chats at the moment. So I just wanted to navigate to our last slide here with our contact information. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions about any of the things we talked about today. We're happy to work with you. Obviously, now's a great time to be starting to do that, especially if you're looking at it for the fall. Feel free to be in touch about any of the things we touched on. And then there's a link here to our handout. I will put a link to this as well in the chat. And give me 1 second to do that, but it's also linked, from this presentation. Give me 1 second. I think I have it.
There was a question that just popped in chat.
Okay.
And not the Q&A chat, the webinar chat. Is there a new way, is there a way faculty can know the licensing end date for Canopy videos so we don't assign one that will run out in the middle of the semester?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I would have to ask one of our colleagues. Judith, we can take your email and get back to you. I don't know off the top of my head though, I'm sorry. Okay, there's a note from Michael. I don't know if Kate or Kristen know the answer to this about the link, referring to the link I just put in the chat.
I'm looking here. Kim or Kate, do you know why they wouldn't be able to click on it? I know it went to all the attendees.
Panelists, I just send it to the attendees.
Yeah, it just went to panelists.
Sorry.
Thanks, Kate.
You're welcome.
Let me go back to Q&A. I don't see a link. Sorry. Okay, sorry, everybody. Zoom is hard to operate full screen with only one tiny laptop screen. I'll just say that. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, we will wrap things up. Hopefully everybody got the link by now. You'll have that if you want to have the more detailed information. And like I said, feel free to contact us or reach out to your librarians if you're already working with somebody. And we hope to talk to all of you soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, ladies. We really appreciate you being so flexible and being able to reschedule from last week to this week on short notice. So, all right, well, that concludes our Canvas Day session for this week. So we hope to see you all back next week.
Thanks, Kristen.